Today, I want to talk about sort of a guide to the MCAT, sort of some tips for how you can make sure that you're the most prepared for your MCAT as you're going into it. So, first, I just want to make sure you're in the right space. So, if you're a student or you're a parent of a student who will be taking the MCAT exam in the near future within the next 6 to 8 months or so, and you really want to get a top score without having to be completely overwhelmed and stressed the entire time. So you're prepared to really make sure that you're giving yourself the best possible opportunity to get into med school because you've got that top MCAT score and you really want to get some expert guidance with some proven results. You're in the right spot. That's what we're here for. So just imagine if you could go into your MCAT exam with confidence because you know that you are prepared for success. You can reduce all that stress, all that uncertainty around studying. You can earn the exact MCAT score that you want. You hit your goals, and leading up to the exam, even you're spending your time efficiently. So that means you can also include relaxation and self care in your routine. And then at the end of the day, you are proud of your exam score. That absolutely can be you. So a few of our students that things they have said, I feel very proud of myself. I feel like all my hard work is finally paying off. I just got into my first choice medical school. This is something that's very, very common for our students. And that can be you as well. So before we jump in and get started, I just want to make an agreement with you. I promise that in this training, I'm going to walk you through the 3 steps that you really need to make sure that you're really prepared for your MCAT exam. And in return, I just ask that you take action on what I share with you. A few examples of how you can take action. You can either share this video with your student if you're a parent watching this, or if you're the student, you can share it with your parent and get some accountability in your world. You can also actually implement the steps that I'm sharing with you on the training. That's best case scenario, right? Take this training to heart and actually implement the strategies. And then at the end, I will also share with you how you can get everything that we go through today customized specifically for you. So I want you to think about whenever I say MCAT preparation, if you've kind of gone through any of these experiences, maybe you don't even know where to start studying. You feel like maybe you understand the material, but you're struggling to apply it. Maybe you have some practice books, but you don't necessarily know how to use them. Or maybe they're even collecting dust over on the shelf and you're just looking at them, feeling guilty and anxious because you're not using them in the way that you want to or you know you need to. Maybe you do review the material, but it's not sinking in. And overall, that's leaving you feeling stressed out, anxious, completely overwhelmed. That doesn't have to be your experience preparing for the MCAT exam. Really, you're just missing 3 simple steps. I like to call it the STEM Excellence MCAT method. So a little bit about me, who I am, how I know this, why I'm qualified to share this information with you. I'm the founder of STEM Excellence. I have a PhD in chemistry from the University of Arizona. I've worked with over 200 pre-med students, helping them prepare for their MCAT exam, helping them get accepted to medical school, and I have over 20 years of teaching experience. So I'm intimately familiar with the subjects that go into the MCAT exam, as well as ways for students to prepare themselves for the MCAT exam. So I've personally designed the STEM Excellence MCAT method with our team of experts who have very similar credentials to myself after years of proven results with pre-med students that we've worked. So based on the experience that I have working with students, there are a few mistakes that are very common that I've noticed that we want to avoid. The first one is trying to get it through it alone. So quick note, self-study does not mean solo study. Even if you're going to self-study, that doesn't mean you need to do it by yourself. Ideally, think about taking your MCAT exam. You can compare it to maybe climbing Mount Everest. So trying to climb Mount MCAT, right? Think about trying to do that by yourself. Rough city, right? You don't know which pathway to take, you don't know where the trails are, you don't have a map, you don't really know where the twists and the turns are. But compare that to climbing with other people, either a team of other students who are also going through it, working through it together, or even better, some advisors, some coaches, some people that know the way, giving you a map, giving you a guide, helping you know which pathway to take. Obviously, that one's going to be much more successful for you. So don't set yourself up to do it the hard way. There are no trophies for doing it the hard way. Get some help, get some support, make sure that you have some accountability, make sure you have somebody showing you the way to do it. Don't do it by yourself. You don't have to. So that's one of the biggest mistakes is students think, oh, I'm ambitious, I'm pre-med. You guys are all ambitious and you guys are all accountable for yourselves if you're pre-med. But the MCAT is hard and it is a beast of an exam. So set yourself up for success from the beginning by making sure you're not doing it by yourself. The next one is just relying on your college courses. So I've talked to students and they've said, oh, I've got all my notes all from all my courses ready to go. And so I'm just going to study my classes, my notes for my classes. That's not really the best approach to take. So not all college courses cover everything that's going to be on the MCAT exam. We work very closely with our local university, and I'm very, very familiar with the courses that are taught at our university, and there are topics on the MCAT exam that are not included in those courses because they're not MCAT specific courses. They are general knowledge courses. Also, sometimes the approach to a topic is different on the MCAT exam compared to, or you're expected to know it differently on the MCAT exam compared to how you're taught in your courses. But in addition to that, the more perspectives that you have, the more in-depth your understanding is going to be. And whenever you take the MCAT, you really need that in-depth understanding. So make sure you go beyond what you teach or what you were taught in your courses. You go beyond just your notes from your classes. You need a little bit more content than that. Another one is people insist on getting a one-on-one in-person tutor. And there are a lot of benefits to that. But also, you want to make sure you take advantages of technology. Your exam is going to be online, so you really want to make sure you are preparing in the same way you're going to have to perform. So you want to make sure you're doing a lot of online coursework, you're doing a lot of online practice, doing things online that are going to recreate the same type of environment you're going to have whenever you're actually taking the exam. The last one is there are a lot of big companies, big box companies that are well known for the exam. And we have a lot of students who actually work with those companies and then afterwards they come and they work with us. So, these companies, these bigger corporate companies, they have amazing resources in terms of their books, in terms of their study material. You can't really go wrong with using those. But most of the time, their courses are not actually led by experts. They're actually led by students. And so it's not uncommon at all for us to see students that come to us after they've gone through some of these bigger corporate programs because they weren't successful with it, because again, it was student led and they just really weren't happy with the teaching that they got in that experience. You're also just another number in these bigger companies. They're not going to be small and personalized to give you guidance that is customized and individualized to you. So make sure you watch out for that. Okay, so now let me introduce you to our method, the STEM Excellence MCAT method. Really, there's three things that come together, what you need for success. I like to call this the learning trifecta. If you've worked with me at all, you've heard me talk about the learning trifecta. You really have three things that come together for success, right? Habits, strategy, and environment. Strategy, that comes from good curriculum, right? That comes from a good plan. But without the right habits or standards and the right environment, that strategy is going to fail every time. That strategy can only get you so far. You really do need to support it with standards, habits, etc., and with a supportive environment. So if your goal is to get above a 510 on the MCAT, that's a very competitive score for almost every school. If you want to go to the medical school of your choice, you want to eliminate the stress and the uncertainty surrounding your med school applications because you know you have a solid MCAT score that's really going to help you stand out and that's going to allow you to create a prestigious future for yourself, you cannot afford to leave it to chance. So make sure you've got your notes, you've got your pen and paper. Let's walk through our STEM Excellence MCAT method. The first one is to review. This is generally not new to anybody. This first step is pretty much what every student thinks of when they think of the MCAT exam, preparing for the MCAT exam. You need to have content review. Most students have some sort of gap in their knowledge whenever they go into taking the exam. They've had all the material in their courses, but nobody remembers everything from all of their courses. There are going to be gaps, either from topics that weren't taught in the first place, or things that you didn't learn all the way, or things that you just need a refresher because it's been a minute since you've had the class. So you want to make sure that you take the time to go through and fill in all the potholes, right? Fill in all the gaps in your knowledge. You really want to make sure you have a comprehensive knowledge base to pull from to be able to answer these high level questions. So this in-depth content review is an essential part of your studying. And like I said, I don't have to convince anybody of this. This is stereotypical what students focus on when they think about MCAT studying. The next part, people tend to miss, and that's to strategize. Most students, whenever they think about preparing for the MCAT, they just kind of jump in, right? They don't really take time to think about their mindset. They don't really take time to create a plan, and they don't really take time to build out a strategy. If you think about an Olympic athlete, they're going to have a strategy for how they're going to jump into their race, right? Especially if it's a very long race, studying for the MCAT, it is a marathon. It's something you're going to do for 4 to 6 months. It's not something you can do just real quick. It's not a sprint. So you need a strategy of how to do that. Just like an athlete that has a long race, they're going to have a strategy for when they're going to go faster, when they're going to taper off, when they're just going to cruise, etc. So you really need to make sure that you're strategizing how you're going to tackle the MCAT, not just how you're going to study, but also how you're going to actually go into the exam, how you're going to read the passages, how you're going to answer the different types of question based on the types of question that it is, how you're going to handle the time on the exam because you don't get a lot of time. Those are types of things that you really want to make sure you have a strategy for. If you want to be the gold medalist of your MCAT exam, you have to strategize as you're going to go through the exam. You have to have this plan of how you're going to go through the exam. The last part's to practice. The ability to apply content doesn't mean anything if you don't have the ability to apply it, right? Strategies don't mean anything if you don't know how to implement them, and the confidence to put them together only comes from lots of practice. It's kind of similar to if you think of a golfer. Golfers go and compete in tournaments. They always get there early to play the course, that exact course they're going to play on beforehand, even though they've golfed tons their whole life to be able to get to the pro level. Same thing. Whenever you take your MCAT exam, you do not want to go into that exam cold, not having taken a full length or multiple full length exams before. You want to make sure you've practiced full length exams, MCAT style passages, so that going into the exam, you know exactly what you're going into. You know exactly where you stand, and there's no shock to your system because I promise just sitting a 7.5 hour exam is going to be a shock to your system in and of itself. So make sure you practice. That successful score really does take the repetition of a lot of practice. So that's our method. You want to review. You got to have a content review. You want to make sure you strategize. You need a strategy going into the exam, and you want to make sure you practice putting those together. So here's what some of our students have said. Kay has said that our teaching style and approach did wonders for my daughter's understanding of subjects, materials, as well as giving her confidence a boost. Monique has said coming here was the best possible thing I could have done. Lori's amazing. She's determined to make her students succeed. She makes even the most complex concepts easy to understand. And then Megan said that we give a full overview of concepts in ways that are easy to understand, as well as practice problems that prepare you for the exam. Would recommend Lori and STEM Excellence to anyone. So congratulations on making it this far through the training. Now you know the 3 steps. So I'm going to remind you of that agreement that we made at the beginning. I agreed I'm going to show you our 3 steps to get that successful MCAT exam score, and you agreed to take action. So please take these steps, implement them in your studying, and if you would like to schedule a call with me, then I have some time in my schedule over the next few days to be able to chat with you and customize this plan specifically for you. So I will put this link to my calendar in the chat of this video in the description. And if you're interested in booking a call with me, then go ahead and find a time that works for you, and we can customize this plan, take this strategy and customize it a little bit to you. We can talk about where you are specifically and see sort of what will be the best fit for you to make sure that you can get prepared. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it really did give you some insights into what you need to think about going into preparing for your MCAT exam. And hopefully I will be seeing you soon in my calendar.